in the high desert in the great American Southwest.
Welcome to Coast AM. John, welcome to the program. It's good to have you with us. You're with us.
Welcome back to Coast PM, the number one unofficial Coast AM podcast. For any new listeners, this is a podcast where two brothers analyze the world's largest overnight paranormal radio show, Coast AM. My name is Paul, and I'm the guy that listens to this inexplicable radio show here with my brother.
Hey, it's Chris. I'm the Mary Kate to your Ashley, except we don't solve mysteries around the world.
We do not, but we will be solving a mystery tonight, Chris. That was a good one, by the way. That was a good one.
All right.
They keep getting weirder. I don't think you can get weirder with these, but you find a way.
Well, I'm going to do my best to keep it fresh.
You're doing a good job, and I appreciate it.
Is it fresh?
Yeah, it's fresh.
I just want to compliment you to all the listeners. You're really getting a professional sounding pitch.
I've been practicing.
This one was the first one where I was like, oh, we kind of do have an interesting thing going.
We do. We have a real podcast that has listeners, and I feel like they deserve an appropriate introduction.
A step up
from episode one.
Yeah.
Not much of a step up, but some sort of a step up.
I could be wrong. I think we have stepped it up since episode one.
We have, I think.
There's been an incline. I hope.
If you agree that we've stepped it up since episode one, please drop us 5 stars on Apple or Spotify and smash that follow button if you like the show. Because not only does that help you find more episodes, helps other people find us because algorithms are a thing.
Yeah, but also like do it in real life. Like be a pal, share it. Share it with somebody you actually know, because like everyone always goes to like, you're just computer brained, be a computer. And like, let's get back to like sharing and talking about things with people. So do that too.
Yeah, put it on a cassette tape and start mailing it to your relatives.
Dude, listen, if you make a cassette tape of one of our episodes, send us a picture of it on social media and we will shout you out big time.
100% we will. Well, Chris, we got an episode today that I think you and our listeners are going to enjoy.
Okay. What do we got?
We are going to be talking about the Say Rays agenda.
Say Rays?
Say Rays. Going back to the Art Bell archives from 2015.
Okay.
Now, this is where Art Bell interviews a man by the name of R. Scott Lemriel, who wrote a book about the Say Rays agenda, which is his theory that discusses a galactic order of many different alien races, including alien humans, reptoids, greys, tall whites, and all of them are secretly engaged in Earth's affairs.
And this is Say Rays, not series.
So it's spelled Seres, but he pronounces it Say Rays.
Say Rays.
Say
okay,
Rays.
I was like, are you just saying this with a weird accent? What is going on right now?
That's how he pronounces
Say
it.
Rays.
And he's the one.
Say Rays agenda.
It's because I'm from the South. He's the one that calls it that. And it's going to be interesting. The beginning of the show actually starts with Art's talking about his family's life being threatened and there being people who are breaking in onto his property and firing guns. And this is ultimately why he permanently retired from the radio, because this was happening. So I think it's going to be interesting to kind of hear, what pushed Art over the edge to where he actually stopped being on the radio entirely. But then also the Say Ray stuff is pretty weird too.
So we're going to get a little Art Bell history here.
A little Art Bell history, little galactic history, little ancient aliens too, which I know you love.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. You
Don't
think
tempt
that
me.
you think we evolved, Chris. We didn't. We came from aliens.
I already knew this, dude. We were monkey alien DNA hybrids.
Close. But we'll get into it. It's going to be fun.
We'll get into it.
Before we do that, we
got some Timmy Pineal for me, dude.
We got to stop by the Coast to Coast AM blog with Tim Pineal.
Give me the Tim, dude. Need some Tim in my life right now.
All right. So today's article, Chris, TikTok psychic swindles Canadian woman.
If you're going to TikTok for your psychics, you deserve to be swindled.
Yeah, just don't trust TikTok. You don't interact with anyone.
Deserve to be swindled.
Man,
Go to the nice lady a couple of blocks away. All right. You'll get a great psychic reading from her.
This is what's wrong with society, is that no one goes to their local psychic anymore, man.
That's
Everyone's
exactly right.
It's all digital. You can't have that one-to-one psychic relationship like you used to be able to.
We don't even know who we are anymore.
We've lost sight of things, and so did this woman. So jumping into the article, Chris, a Canadian woman is sounding the alarm over a scam in which she was allegedly bilked out of $11,000. First off, the word bilked, is that a word?
Yeah, definitely.
That's a weird word. I don't like that he used that.
He's got the adjectives, adverbs, nouns, verbs, whatever you need, dude. He's like, I'm like starting to really appreciate the writing of Tim Pineal.
What are the odds he's just using thesaurus online?
I don't care.
You just like the words?
He's picking the right words.
All right. Well, this lady was built out of $11,000 by a self-proclaimed psychic operating on TikTok. The unfortunate cautionary tale reportedly began when Marie, who has opted to not reveal her identity, it's probably a smart move, received a sizable inheritance following the passing of her stepfather last year. Uncertain as to what to do with the money, she turned to the TikTok account of an individual out of Texas who claims to be a psychic. Although she only paid $20 for her initial reading, Marie says that this was merely the start of a months-long ordeal, which ultimately cost her a small fortune.
Dude, you had to keep on paying this person, right?
Yeah, you can't stop.
I mean, unless this psychic got into Marie's account and stole all of her money, there is no way that this woman swindled her, really.
Well, here's how it happens. So
okay, I guess I need to know more of the story.
Yeah, she this is a quote. She was like, yeah, there's so much negativity around you. Every time she would do a reading, the price would go up. She would say, I need more money to get rid of all this negativity. Like, I need to fix you. To that end, the cost for the psychic session soon increased exponentially until the self-proclaimed soothsayer, he uses self-proclaimed soothsayer a lot. That's the second time we've heard that exact phrase.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Self-proclaimed soothsayer. Yeah, but we're also being incredibly choosy with our articles. And I'm sure he's like, my readership has already forgotten. What was the phrasing?
Self-proclaimed soothsayer.
So self-proclaimed.
He really likes alliteration. I think is the problem.
He loves alliteration. He loves it. I like it too. To be fair to Tim, I love alliteration.
It's flair. I guess it's a thing that you can do. So this self-proclaimed soothsayer declared that, quote, I'm seeing 666, so we have to turn it into 999, and indicated that Marie needed to send them $9,000 to eradicate the dark cloud hanging over her.
Baller.
That's a move.
That's such a baller status by the psychic.
Well, and the other thing too is that it would make more sense if it was you have to send me $999.
You would think that would be the easiest one.
Yeah, $9,000. That's not the same number.
Yeah, but she was like, she was just seeing how high she can milk this lady.
Yeah,
and Marie was just like, oh, I gotta pay you more. And kept on doing it. Like, this is where I'm like, yeah, lady, I'm sorry. I don't really feel bad for you.
I feel a little bad for her, but continuing on.
Marie, she went to Texas for her psychic readings. I would never. Those people have no attunement to the spiritual realms in Texas, dude. All right. They got the spiritual realm for like cattle.
You're judging the entire state of Texas now. You're maligning all of Texas.
The whole state. If I wanted to know something about beef, I would go to somebody in Texas.
Or high school football.
Yeah, maybe not even then, dude, because their college football hasn't been that good. Oops.
Hook 'em. All right, so
if I want to know about Matthew McConaughey, I will ask somebody from Texas, but not a psychic. So, Marie, I'm sorry if you're out there. You should have been smarter with your money.
So, as one may have surmised by now, the true curse which had befallen the young woman was her decision to enlist the psychic in the first place. Despite promising to return all of Marie's money once the negative energy around her had been removed, the woman contends that the psychic kept all of the funds and stopped communicating with her. Shocker.
Yeah, that's exactly what was going to happen. She was just like, I just got $15,000 out of this lady altogether. I'm out.
I'm running away.
I'm out.
Now I'm starting a new TikTok account. So now realizing her mistake, she understandably feels angry and embarrassed at having fallen victim to the scheme, wherein she was duped into giving, quote, a complete stranger her entire inheritance. Despite being mortified by what happened to her and it being unlikely that she can recoup the money, Marie came forward with her account to warn others about the dangers of ne'er-do-wells using modern technology to perpetuate the age-old phony psychic scam.
Don't feel bad for you, Marie. Sorry.
I feel a little bad. So her
if she's like 75 years old, then yeah, I feel a little bad for her. But if this is like a 40, 50-year-old lady, dude, don't feel bad for you.
No, I think it's actually a young woman. She's 21 years old.
21?
She's 21.
You grew up with all this.
Yeah, but her stepfather just died. I can see, depending on that relationship, she may have been making bad decisions.
Okay. All right. Okay. A modicum, dude, but still. It's like at a certain point, before $9,000, you're telling me that you're not like, maybe I'm getting swindled.
I'm not saying it's a good move. I'm just saying I feel bad for her because she just lost her inheritance to a swindler.
Key phrase here. She's Canadian.
Now we're going after Canada, man. What's next?
Let's see a very small segment of people. I went after the gypsies a couple episodes ago, and now I'm going after Canadians and Texans.
Yeah, we got to reel you in, man. But moral of the story is don't trust people on TikTok.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Don't send them money. At least TikTok's free.
Yeah,
TikTok is free.
If you see something on TikTok, don't send it money.
Don't send anybody money. Don't send us money on TikTok.
Well, you could send us money on TikTok.
We'll figure out a different way. We're not going to make them pay through TikTok, dude.
I don't even know how that would work. I think there is a way to do that, but I don't understand TikTok well enough.
I'll never do it.
All right. So, Chris, let's jump into today's episode. So to recap where we are in the timeline, this is 2015. So Art semi-retired from Coast to Coast in 2003. But he continued to guest host up until 2010.
Right.
He also moved to the Philippines.
He had a burning need for whatever reason he could get on the air.
The man couldn't stop recording.
Right.
He is through and through a radio host. So he moved to the Philippines. He got married. He had a kid, moved back to Nevada. Right.
Okay.
And at that point, he restarted a show. It was called Midnight in the Desert was what he called it. And ultimately, after starting that, he retired a few months later because of security concerns.
Syndicated only online at this point? How is he getting played still?
I believe it was mainly online, but he also did have some equipment out of his house that he may have been shooting through the airwaves on.
Yeah, some smaller regional area. Right.
So at the end of 2015, he ended up permanently retiring, and then he passed away in 2018 from an accidental overdose.
Okay.
So this is about 3 years before his death, but we're going to start off with him discussing the incursions that he's had on his property. And these are the instances that ultimately led him permanently retiring.
Okay.
Somebody or somebodies don't want me on the air. It's really as simple as that. Here's what's happened here since October 21st. About 10:30 or so at night during my show on October 21st, a person was observed by a neighbor of mine directly in front of my studio with a rifle, and he fired off several fast rounds, either at or near my residence. The next day, of course, we searched for brass, and none was recovered. We looked for holes in the house and didn't find any. So, it was like a warning, I guess.
So that was the first incident.
So what is the likelihood that he's going insane?
I honestly think it's small because there were additional instances where there were other witnesses and the cops were called.
So, and there's evidence of all of this, not just Art saying it.
I have not looked up the police reports.
Okay.
So I can't independently verify that He's not making up the fact that, there were police reports filed, but I do believe that this happened, honestly.
Okay, because I'm just saying we've already heard these stories, right, of people being like, there were, 6 black SUVs and everyone was dressed up in suits, and you know what I mean? Like, we've kind of heard stuff like this already, and it just seems to me that it's how much is Art playing this?
You mean like, is he going full crank, or is he
a little bit of both? Could he be going somewhat insane, or also I think just as likely is he's telling tales, right? I can already tell is going to be a pretty interesting story. And how much is he knows he has a captured audience who loves this stuff anyways, and he's just like playing the game because he's doing it on his own now, right? He's not doing it with somebody interviewing him during all this, right? It's just like him storytelling.
Well, let's listen to the rest of the clips too.
Okay, give me some more. Give me some more.
A call was made to my home, and a man's voice told me that if I went on the air that night, both myself and my family would be killed. But I did, in fact, go on the air that night. I was so angry. It was a block number, of course. AT&T tells me they cannot recover it.
Okay, all right.
Getting threatening calls.
And then
right before, or a little bit after this, there was then a man that he saw outside of his window.
Well, a security light in the rear of my guest house here went on, and there's no reason for it to go on. So I grabbed a gun and went to the rear door. This all happened very quickly. I observed a man crouched down near my studio window. As I looked down the side of the house, I could see this guy crouched by my window, and I leveled the gun. He took off immediately.
So he was getting ready to shoot this guy that he saw.
Right.
Yeah.
Of
and
course.
Here's the thing too, and a reason why I am more likely to believe it than not is that Art's not, he goes on to discuss it a bit more, and he's not saying it's like the government who's doing it. He thinks it's like an unhinged listener.
Oh.
Yeah. So he even says, like, I don't understand why anyone's so mad. It's just a radio show. So he doesn't think he's being stalked by like the FBI or like the deep state. He thinks
he's being stopped by
like someone who's just unhinged.
Right.
And that's his big concern.
They've listened to Art Bell for years, and he's gone off the air now, and now they want to whatever.
Yeah. So I think that could be it. And the other reason why I'm, why I lean towards believing him is because ultimately he stops being on the radio because of this. I think, he had a young daughter, and he's like, this isn't worth it. And this guy loved the radio so much. I think that's the only thing that could have gotten him to stop, because I think he would have just kept going until he
Interesting.
Died. Yeah.
Interesting. That's what because I was trying to sit here and think, and I was like, if the, whatever the government and or whatever crazy idea was trying to kill him, I was like, why didn't they do it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and not like he's at the height of his, well, not the height of his popularity, but definitely the height of his fame, probably.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, I think he had 10 million listeners. Like, it was the largest overnight radio show in the country, potentially in the world.
Oh, yeah. I did 10 million people at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Who's listening to that?
A lot.
Well, insane people, which also get as another plus sign to that this is an unhinged person.
Yeah, a lot of crazy people actually listen to the show, and a lot of them call in as well. So,
and they're probably, they're on drugs or they're on whatever, and this person, could have just been on PCP or BZ, right?
Yeah, and here's the other thing, though, as a tick against the validity of his story, is that Art Bell's accidental overdose was because he was on a lot of different opioids that were prescribed to him, but he was a chain smoker. He had a lot of lung issues. His health was in pretty bad decline. So he was also on a lot of prescription meds. So things may not have been as clear to him around these points as it could have been. So that it is a possibility that something was happening, but it wasn't quite what he was perceiving, or something was being played up in his head. It's difficult to know.
he saw somebody lurking around the house and it was a city worker.
Yeah, there's not a
Reading his
lot of
meter or
good
something,
information outside of his recordings on the end of Art's life that I can find.
Okay, interesting.
So mainly relying on his takes.
Okay, cool.
So that's the intro. Now we're
Got
going to
it.
jump into the conversation with Scott Lemriel and the Sayres agenda, the theory that says that humans were seeded by aliens and that they're all still here on this planet doing weird experiments all the time.
The aliens are still here.
All of them are here, just hanging out.
I know the hybrids are definitely here. We're still here.
No, the real aliens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the aliens are here.
Yeah,
hanging out.
Here. They're hanging out.
Okay.
So let's jump into Mr. Scott's first encounter with alien life forms, right? How they talk to you to begin with, because this guy's saying he's getting all this information directly from the aliens, right? Psychically communicating with them. So how'd this start?
The first thing I want to ask is, how did this begin? I mean, how did you first become in touch with another race? Right.
I have to go back to when I was about 5 years old in Salt Lake City. I had an experience of suddenly leaving my body and rising above it as a fully mature adult being.
Wow.
And I was above the body and fully awakened for a brief time, and I looked up and I saw a sphere of energy, a transparent golden sphere of energy, and in it were mathematical equations and formulas that were really otherworldly, but I understood them. And I looked up at the stars and I saw the star patterns, and I knew instantly where I was. And the only thing I could think of is, what am I doing on Earth? Which says that something was done to me to put me on this planet, unconscious, unaware of everything I'd ever done before. And that's been done to everybody on this planet. And we'll get into that.
Okay. Oh, dude. So you just gave me flat out insane person.
Yeah, this is kind of a crazy guy.
This guy, there's no like, I've been doing the research or whatever. This guy has been psychically told that this is what happened.
Yes, that's where it's all coming from. And here's
All
the thing,
psychic.
Chris. There's a lot of these people on Coast to Coast. So that's why I think it
that
is
are
worth
psychically
reviewing.
told things.
Yes. An enormous amount of people on Coast to Coast, their foundation and their evidence is that they're psychically communicating with another being.
So this is my impression of what people mean these days of cyclically told, is that they are habitually on the internet. They're just internet people.
Just absorbing passively an enormous amount of bad information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They like troll these ancient alien boards. And then it's like, I'm cyclically being told that ancient aliens made us humans.
It's possible. I mean, it's 2015, so would be a good time to do that, I think.
Dude, and that was 2015. You're still a little bit in the wild west of the web when it like cost you $2 to make a website.
Yeah, and
You could put
trash HTML,
whatever you wanted on it.
Yeah. So this
You
guy
could put whatever you wanted,
including stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
So this guy, ever since he was a kid, he's getting psychic communications from these aliens. At age 11, he gets like knocked on his butt, and then his mind gets transported up to these UFOs, and they keep showing him all this information about like, this is how space travel works, right? But he can't really comprehend it because he's still in his human form. But he is aware that he did have a past life. All of us have past lives, and we were seeded here on this planet at some point. So he is able to grasp all that. But the thing is, even though he was being sort of abducted, it was not a traumatic experience for him.
I never had any terrorizing dreams or the typical symptoms that an abducted person from a little gray or something has had.
Sure.
The nightmarish stuff or the traumas or any of that. No, none of that. Which is probably pretty unusual for the time.
So it's all very positive, man. He's getting good vibes off these aliens.
The aliens love this guy. They're like, oh man, our Scott are we just calling him Scott or our Scott?
Just Scott. He's just Scott.
Scott. We'll just call him Scott. Scotty boy.
Scotty boy.
So Scotty's just like going up, psychically hanging out with these aliens, and they're like, "Yo, Scotty,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, man.
Psychically come by. We created you."
So there is a whole agenda. There's a whole agenda with these Sayrays, right? They got a plan in place that we're going to unpack.
Okay, so that's the name of these beings is Sayrays.
Sayrays is the name of the beings.
Got it.
And they are the original like sentient beings in the universe, and then they spawned all of the other beings. So when it comes to grays, tall whites, reptoids, they're the OG race.
The whole universe, these guys are the very first beings.
Yeah.
And then they're the forerunners.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is built upon what these people have done.
Yeah, and this is deep lore today in this guy's brain, but it's the Sayrays started all these races. They used to be really hands-on, so they were able to help these different species of aliens to become intergalactic, right? To learn space travel.
They give you a kickstart.
Yeah,
they give you a kickstart, right?
But then they disappeared, Chris, and they stepped back, and they were just gone for hundreds of thousands of years. Okay. And they're just now coming back. And that's the Sayrays agenda, is that they're like, we need to re-intervene in the happenings of the galaxy again.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The galaxy, the universe, it's going to shit.
It's going downhill. That's what he's saying, is that everything's going really badly, especially here on Earth. And they have decided to re-intervene. They've had a reawakening that, like, you know what? The universe needs us.
You think it's bad on Earth? Try Clygon number 7.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's bad all over which here's the thing that I do like about this. It is nice to know that we're all in this together across the Milky Way. It just sucks.
It's universal. It's universal.
Yeah.
It's a universal crap hole.
So speaking of crap holes, Chris, this was that a good segue?
Speaking of crap holes,
this guy also talks about his past lives, and because he is able to remember his past lives. The way to think about this is almost like a Scientology thing, where you have a soul and it's kind of like traveled around the universe, and you can remember these past events and past lives. And then we were seeded here by other species. So although your soul is trapped here, you've been all over the place. And this guy remembers what he used to be. And I think you're going to like what you have to hear, Chris.
All right. Do you remember earlier you said that they showed you what you were before you were on this earth?
Uh-huh.
What were you?
I was an ambassador between many world systems, and my expertise was keeping people from going to war. I was very good at it.
Boy, we could sure use you now.
Before this show's over, I want to share with you and your listeners not only a way you can immediately protect yourself, but connect with and gain the protection you need to continue doing your work.
Okay.
It's a pretty big statement.
It is.
Okay, so we'll put that aside for now.
Put that aside. Put down the ultimate protection spell. Put that aside. We'll get there.
In Caddyshack, when Bill Murray tells his Dalai Lama story.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Lama, how about something for the effort?
So, number one, this is classic. I was a pharaoh in a past life. Like, this guy not only is an alien, not only, has these past lives, but he was like the super awesome ambassador that kept everyone from going to war.
Right.
So that's cool. And then not only that, but he also has certain techniques that you could use to protect yourself and to raise your consciousness up, to be able to speak to the Sayrays yourself. But we're going to put a pin in that, and we're going to get to that according to him.
We're going to get to that eventually. Just keep it in your pocket. That's coming.
That's coming, baby. Which also
classic salesman.
Yeah.
Classic salesman. I'm like, well, crap. I got to listen to the whole thing now.
Well, that's what I thought. That's why I listened to this whole stupid episode, was because I was like, I have to know what this is. What is this technique?
Does he ever give it to you?
Yeah, we're going to go over it.
Okay. All right.
We're going to go over it.
That would be the best if he was like, just
ran out of time. All right. I can tell you how to protect you and your family from these interlopers. I can tell everyone how to be safe in a nuclear apocalypse. What? I gotta run. Interview's over. Sorry. Next time.
I'm on a tight 55. Yeah,
that's part 2. Don't worry about that. So we will get to that. which will be interesting. But before we do that, he's got to finish building this world out, right? This is some classic world building.
Right.
So, number one, it all started because Chris, he did do his research. Okay. I realize you're trying to say this guy doesn't have any backing on this, but he did some research on Earth's history and it helped him come to these conclusions.
I began to put together the elements of an ancient history that people on Earth have been deliberately manipulated not to recall, and they should. This goes back into my discovery that no human being ever evolved on this planet to begin with, ever. Not from monkeys, not from an amoeba, from a primordial swamp. They were brought here during 50 million years when this planet was habitable by human beings after the dinosaurs were made extinct.
What you're telling me is that the seeding of humanity here on Earth was done by these Say rays, yes?
Originally, yes, and we'll get into that.
So we were all brought here, and he has laid out this entire theory in his book, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing that I haven't really heard before. I at least, if you're going to give me that I was brought here, I would rather be half monkey, half alien hybrids, because I still want to be of the Earth.
Yeah, you want a Battlestar Galactica.
Right,
4.
I want. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this planet somehow. And I guess in a weird way, you could argue like, well, we've been here for so long or whatever, right? So like we've gotten some of the Earth inside of us, but not really, man.
No, this guy takes all that away. And the other thing he takes away too is that, humans are seeded here by other humans that are like aliens, right? So there's humans out there in the Milky Way somewhere.
Right.
That we are copied after. So that's where we come from. And there were also other, species of aliens that were seeded here before us. So there were previous civilizations, one of them being Atlantis. People love working Atlantis and stuff like this.
Got to get Atlantis in there.
So they got destroyed.
I like Atlantis too, though, so I'm not going to hate too much on that.
Yeah, you got to mix it up. So they were destroyed, and then they were like, well, we got to put something else down here. So they started throwing humans in.
In my overarching theory, Atlantis will be in there
when you're on Coast to Coast eventually.
When I'm on Coast to Coast selling my book that I've psychically received.
It is a little Scientology, though. Honestly,
it's
a
lot.
Is.
It's actually a shocking amount of Scientology so far.
Yeah.
He's changed it up some. And actually, his changes I like better.
Yeah, he makes, as I'm qualifying this because it's all relative. I feel like he's making it a little less silly, although it's all still very silly.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm not attached by thousands of alien souls that are on my body.
That kind of
I just
stuff.
have the one soul, right?
All that kind of stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah,
he's taken a lot of the ridiculous stuff out.
Yeah, but speaking of the ridiculous, Chris,
humans. He's taking it all out, huh?
Yeah, still some in there. Speaking of the ridiculous, he also says that all humans should be able to be telepathic, but they have kept us from this ability.
When I was writing the book, because when I write, I see through what the pineal gland in the middle of the brain, which is really a tool that the being soul, or what people from other worlds call the Atma, uses to see into other realities and know things for themselves. People call it intuition today, but to many millions, hundreds, even billions of beings on other worlds in just 1/4 of our Milky Way galaxy alone, the function of telepathy is normal. They speak with vocal cords. They live at least 1,000 years at least, and they have photographic memories. This is normal. People on Earth do not consider that normal.
No.
They've been deprived their normal functioning in a very diabolical way anyway for a very long time.
It's just normal, dude.
I'm going to give him a pass on that one, dude. I'm actually some of that, he says it a little bit stronger than I ever would, but like, I definitely believe that humans do have extrasensory capabilities, and different people do have stronger or weaker abilities to reach some of those extrasensory abilities, and you can develop them and you can make them stronger. We just don't really talk about how to do all that stuff. It's like people who have a developed sense of taste, or people, you know, snipers who can see super far, or people who have perfect pitch. And like, you know, I would have to imagine that there's like people who feel really well, blind people, right, have like incredible senses of touch. And I think there probably are some extra senses. What those are exactly, I don't know. How you would develop those, it's not something that humans, you know, it's considered silly, right? Like, oh, extrasensory capabilities, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know if I really mean telling the future or being able to lift stuff with your head, but like kind of sensing things, or sensing people's intentions almost, you know. Again, it's not like I can read directly what's in your head, but like I can kind of know your energy almost. So I'm going to give him a class on some of that stuff, dude.
Yeah, well, specifically, this guy is referring to telepathic communication as something that we should be able to do. But we have been,
and eventually we will be able to.
Well, we have been implanted with these devices that keep us from doing that.
Oh, there's devices in me right now that stop me from being able to do this.
It's implants. I believe it actually may be an implant in your genetic coding. That's what he's referring to.
Oh, now that is interesting.
Yeah.
You put a little splice in and they just completely take it out of us. That's the smartest way to do it.
Maybe that's where the monkey comes from, is that you are a little terrestrial. They just splice a little bit of dumb monkey in you, and then that keeps you from being able to talk to the aliens in space.
That's a cool part of his theory.
Yeah.
That's one that I haven't really heard before. That how they took our abilities away from us was changed our DNA.
Well, and that's why we aren't psychic. That's why we don't live 1,000 years. That's why we don't have photographic memories, which he talks about photographic memories a lot, which is the least impressive thing that he brings up. Like, there are people with photographic.
That's another great addition to what I'm talking about. Photographic memories.
Yeah. So that's all going on. But what do you also get into, Chris? Sorry.
Why would the Say-Rays do this to us?
Well, let's jump in, right? You know, who are these Say-Rays?
Yeah.
Let's jump into that too, just kind of give you a little more background.
Yeah, I need to know more about these people who are messing with my DNA.
Yeah, which is really not cool. Like, don't mess with DNA.
They go back many billions of years. The Say-Rays immortalized their physical bodies over 1 billion years ago. They are responsible. They're like the senior race behind the reptilians, the tall grays, the small grays, human beings, and every bipedal form that's spacefaring, and they were all benevolent at one time.
Okay, so you acknowledge that these other races you just mentioned, that a lot of people are very familiar with, are in fact in contact and monitoring us or doing whatever they're doing, but they're here.
Yeah, they're definitely looking over this planet right now, and in more ways than it ever existed before in history, in galactic history. And this has only started 3 or 4 years ago.
So they're all here. Now, with those Say-Rays, they stepped back, and then we were seeded by all of these other aliens. So once you know, Papa Alien was gone, all the kids started playing, and they started making a mess of things.
Right.
And that's how Earth came to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we weren't created by the Say-Rays. We were created by another group of aliens.
By this, the Say-Rays created other aliens. Those aliens created us.
Oh, now that is interesting.
Yeah, so this is a little bit like Gnostic Christianity, where there is the main God who had a bunch of smaller deities, and then those deities made humans, and then the big God took pity on humans and like breathed life into them. And that's like the classic like Gnostic way of looking at the Bible.
Right.
God doesn't actually care about us. He just took pity because his minions created us. That's basically what's happening here.
Holy cow, dude. I mean, it's going to be like us creating artificial intelligence.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Right? It's like the created has become the creator.
Yeah, we make artificial intelligence and then we all blow ourselves up, and then the AI is out there making other stuff.
Right. And they're just like, our creator gave us this planet.
Yeah.
They were walking monkeys. And 1,000 years from now, everyone's going to be like, the fucking talking monkey god. What? What is he talking about?
Crazy robots, man.
What's he talking naked monkey?
This robot's an asshole.
Yeah. Stop talking, dude. And it's telling us to do stuff. It's making up rules.
Yeah, so that's the say raise. That's how we came to be. Now, those aliens are still here on Earth, hanging out.
So you have good and bad or benevolent and malevolent extraterrestrial influences here and always have. And under that treaty, they've been allowed to have secret bases in small places on the planet, good and bad, for millions of years, for scientific research and to bring certain beings here.
So we're honestly here as like a science experiment for them.
Right. Interesting.
So they're studying humanity, and they're also making treaties with us.
That was what I was curious about. So our elite power structures do know about these things.
Yes,
they know about all the different aliens. They know that we're the bastard children of a fallen species. They know that there's this Say-Rays people.
Our power structure are fully aware of all this. And Chris, guess who it goes back to?
The Illuminati.
Eisenhower. This is all his fault.
Yeah, give it to me. I want to know.
What a lot of people don't know is that Eisenhower met with two races, two types of beings. The first one he met with were benevolent human, and they offered to change this world. They don't force their will on people. They offered to give us the technology, spacefaring technology, and let us play among the stars. But they had one requirement, and this is true. Nuclear weapons, radioactive isotopes are illegal outside of this planet. That's not the power source they use. That's not how they get around.
So they came and were just like, nope. Like, y'all got to get rid of these nukes. We don't like nukes.
This, dude. I'm liking this lore, dude. This
anti-nukes.
This is good lore, dude. Okay, but now there was a second one.
Now there's a second alien race.
Now there's a second one. Oh, dude. And these guys are going to be no good.
And guess what, dude? Way worse vibes.
As our former president would say, some bad hombres.
Exactly. They are indeed. So the second alien race comes to Eisenhower after we clearly rejects, giving up our nukes. We're not going to do that. So the good guys leave. Bad guys come knocking at the door.
Oh, yeah, please.
The treaty allows another group to approach Earth. They are not supposed to directly reveal themselves or intervene. So they broke the treaty to do this. But they met with Eisenhower a few months later. And those guys were guys that really scared him because they weren't human. And they said, look, you can make a treaty with us to get some of our advanced extraterrestrial technology. And they said, very cleverly, if you don't sign a treaty with us to get the technology that you want, now that you've met us, we'll go to the Soviet Union and we'll make a treaty with them. We'll make them the preeminent power on this planet.
Good threat.
But what Eisenhower didn't know is they were already in the Soviet Union doing the same thing to the premier at the same moment. That's how we got into this treaty with the wrong group, dealing with classifying things, keeping things classified, and making weapons based on extraterrestrial technology, a secret space program that's been going on parallel to NASA since it began.
We got to the secret space program. It happened.
Love it, dude. Love it. I have no problem with this lore whatsoever.
He's got some pretty good lore. Here's my only issue with it, right? Is that I remember when we took, AP English, one of the things that was discussed was that you always want to have a little bit of moral ambiguity in your story.
Right.
You gotta, that's what makes really good literature, right?
Yeah.
That's why, Harry Potter, it's a little too clear who's good, who's bad, kind of boring.
Right.
With this, it's there's the good guys and then the bad guys. He calls them the malevolent aliens versus the good aliens. And I'm like, should it be that clear cut? I feel like we could add a little ambiguity here.
I'm going to disagree with that just a little bit. I imagine that there will be more warlike races and there will be more peace-loving races, and I think that will make them overall more morally positive or negative.
So we're gonna have like a Klingon situation versus some Vulcans or something,
right? And Klingons at the end of the day were positive, right? But they were first seen as very negative And
Yeah,
so I think there
warriors.
will be instances of that happening, right? Where it seemingly, we think these things are very negative, but when you get to the underneath of their culture, they probably are do-gooders or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But then you have something like the Ferengi, right? Who are just like, steal crap and like try to cheat you all the time and stuff like that. And that's going to be, and they would run away from everything, which made them terrible fighters.
Yeah, but it's
They
just
were
even
escape artists.
within the societies. I mean, human society is very diverse in terms of belief structures and approaches in a lot of ways.
I agree with you completely, but I
Yeah.
think once a species is at a point where they are an actual intersolar system planet, probably maybe closer to interplanetary or intergalactic. Once you're at that point, I just have this feeling that there is going to be more of an overall culture for the species.
Yeah, it's possible. I guess in my head, I always take the Expanse's take, right, where it's these kind of divergent groups of the Martians versus the Earth versus the Belters.
Right.
I think I find that the most fun, in my opinion, where it's like a Game of Thrones situation. That's what I like the most. But
that's exactly why I clarified, though. That's exactly why I clarified, because I think you're right. I think interplanetary within our own solar system, there is still plenty. We can still think so small-minded. But I think once you get intergalactic, right, when you're going from solar system to solar system, the amount of technological know-how will solidify the peoples, especially the ones who are going out on these missions. Because I think if this is right, then there's only a couple of reasons why you would be doing this, right? Warfare, taking over, enslaving, or scientific knowledge.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, that's really your only two choices, or habitation.
Yeah,
but habitation, I almost kind of
expanding.
put in the first one.
Yeah, kind of expanding out and colonizing versus, well, it could be like trade, things like that. But
Trade
I
and
see what you're
stuff,
saying.
right?
I think what also would help with the
Capitalists, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the mercantilists.
The mercantilist peoples.
Yeah, I think what would also help with creating that cohesive identity amongst the species is having another sentient species out there where there now is an other, right, versus us.
It would you would be forced to make such a distinction in your mind that I think it would, like, almost in a good way, break the populace.
Yeah. Well,
and
Chris,
what is rebuilt is much better than before, but it would collectively break the minds of our whole entire species once we meet another intelligent being from another planet.
Yeah, and speaking of breaking minds of species, Chris, that happened to the reptilians as well.
Yeah, they of course were broken, dude. They're reptiles.
So they used to be cool. They used to have the good vibes, and then they now have the bad vibes. And there's a really specific reason for that in this lore.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
That goes back to a group that you've probably heard of, a white ring reptilian race somewhere in your travels.
Well, I've heard of course, the reptilians, white rings. I don't know.
White wings.
Wings. Okay. Not particularly.
They came into this, what we call this parallel dimension, from another parallel dimension. They were worse than the reptilians were, and they conquered this reptilian race here, which were vegetarian back then and quite benevolent and quite good in Galactic Alliance history at the time. They conquered a world, and this is really important. They conquered a human world during a war they started. They inspired first they got control of this reptilian race and implanted them with terrorizing subconscious images to make them be tools to go out and terrorize the universe. That's how this started.
So that's how the reptilians became evil.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Dude, this guy has deep lore. This was really hard to put together for an episode.
Yeah, I bet it was, dude. This guy does have deep lore.
It's complicated.
That's a pretty good book.
It probably is a fun
It's probably
book.
pretty interesting.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff on Coast to Coast would make a great sci-fi book.
Yeah. Well, what he's essentially done is he's taken a lot from the Star Trek world.
He has, yeah.
He really has taken a lot. Now he's developed some things and changed things, but a lot of it is very much Star Trek world.
It really
there
is.
There was seeding, and there were multiple human-like beings out there and stuff like that. So
the thing he's missing is the Prime Directive, though.
Yeah, he's definitely missing that.
Because that's the thing with this, is that it's just a bunch of aliens messing with us. They're all trying to make different treaties. They've set up secret governments. They actually have prevented nuclear war. There have been like 20 different instances, according to Scott, where someone pressed the button to shoot nukes between the US and Russia during the Cold War, and the aliens kept shutting it down because they're like, we're not allowing nuclear war.
Yeah, the benevolent aliens are just like, we hate nukes that much, we're not even going to let you send them.
Yeah, which is interesting. That they're preventing that.
Interesting. That is interesting. And it's interesting that they do have a distinction between energy and medicine for nuclear reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
it's kind of fascinating.
What this all boils down to, Chris, is the Ceres want to help us, right? They want to start intervening.
Right.
They recently went through a consciousness change because something appeared to them that I call a new ray, or what I would call an expansion ray, an energy that helped them to understand how they should take responsibility again for some of the younger races and step in, because people down here are destroying themselves. And
so the vibes came in to help them.
Right. Interesting.
Got to get the vibes. So a ray of knowledge came down from the universe. This is very esoteric. It doesn't really explain what this is. But there was a creation ray that, was brought to them. And then that's when they started creating these life forms.
Dude. For whatever reason, I was thinking he was talking about like a ray gun or something. No. He's talking about a literal ray from the center of the universe.
Yeah.
That pulsed through the whole universe.
Yes. And then hits them. And they're like, the first time it happened, they're like, we need to make life. Second time it happened, they're like, we need to re-intervene with the life and what they're doing now, because they're screwing everything up. The whole ecosystem of the universe is going awry. So we have to intervene with these beings. And that's why they reached out to him to help humans unlock their brains so that we can psychically communicate with them, and then raise our consciousness level, and then help to improve the vibes of the overall universe.
Boom.
That's the Ceres agenda.
Every little bit helps, dude.
It does.
That's for sure. That's absolutely for sure. That's incredible. I love that idea.
Now, Chris, I promised you that we would get to how this guy thinks that you can raise your consciousness. So it starts off with a caller that calls in, and he's a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Because but here's why he's skeptical. It's not the reason you might think.
Okay.
It's not because this is ridiculous. It's because his girlfriend is psychic.
Oh.
And she's never, in all of her past life regressions, she's never found any alien memories. And therefore, this has got to be some BS.
Wow. We're doing psychic versus psychic telephone battle.
Yes. It's awesome.
Can't wait.
I'm calling up from a little hamlet in Canada where my girlfriend, bride-to-be, does a little bit of sort of past life regression and dream searing and the like, and going through all of their dreams, she's never been able to find anything about these aliens. So I have to ask you, Scott, do you have a single fact to back any of this up? Like, where's the proof, my friend? Where's the proof?
I love how sassy this guy is about that too, where he's like talking about his girlfriend's psychic past life regressions, and then he's calling bullshit.
Where's the proof?
Where's the proof?
Where's the proof? Because my psychic girlfriend says your psychic is crap.
So here's his response. Crap. Here's his response, and it's great. It's good. He's got good response.
What I'm going to share a little later on the program, if you stay listening, I will share with Art and everybody what I use and how I do it.
Scott, what do you ask for as proof?
Well, that's what I'm getting to.
Okay, please.
Here's an example I'll use. If I had all the classified documents that are in the Pentagon about extraterrestrials, secret space program, what went on, who did what with what, where, on the moon and on Mars. And I laid them out for Art Bell or you.
Yes.
They wouldn't do anybody any good because, number one, you couldn't prove they were authentic. Number two, you weren't there to experience. So how do you know any of it's true?
So great defense there. What's even the point of sharing the information? You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't believe it. And then Art keeps pushing him on this. And then finally he gets him to reveal the way that we can expand our consciousness, what his like one trick is to save all of the vibes in the world.
That's all I wanted, dude. That's why I've been listening this whole time.
Well, and we finally found it. It is. Are you familiar with the Om meditation technique, Chris?
Absolutely.
Where, for those uninitiated, repeating the sound Om, which was allegedly the sound when the universe created itself or was created by God, and meditating using that will help you reach a higher state of consciousness. It's a very effective, like, mantra technique for meditation. It's basically that, but with the sound Hu. Great work. It is that, Chris, but with the sound Hugh, which resonates within like your pineal gland.
Hugh? Like Hugh Hefner?
Like Hugh Hefner.
Oh my!
You just have to do that.
I'm not doing that one.
People, well, he does it for us.
Okay,
so we don't gotta worry.
Yes. If you remember the old Om that came out of India so many years ago, Om.
Yes.
Yeah, when you do that, it vibrates the throat and chest area. People need to experience this for themselves. But when you do the Hue, it vibrates basically the pineal gland, the center of the brain, upward.
Okay.
That's number one.
You.
Well, it's like Hue.
So, emphasis on the you.
On a long, drawn-out tone.
Okay, got it.
To set up a connective frequency.
You got to do the Hue.
Dude, I felt my pineal gland shake.
Did you feel it?
I felt the vibrate, dude. I'm going to start hewing now.
I mean, it's the way of protecting yourself, your family, and connecting with aliens. Is that it breaks the impairment that's been put on you by the aliens, so you can finally have that psychic communication.
That's interesting because I thought it was in our DNA, and so the Hue is breaking my DNA.
Yeah, that's an interesting and very perceptive take there, Chris. That is not addressed in this conversation.
Okay, all right, okay.
So we got one last caller as our final clip, and this guy's like, "Dude, you got to have some evidence." And Art agrees with him. Art's pushing back as well.
I was going to say, you can tell that Art is starting to get ticked.
Art's getting frustrated. I think he was expecting something else from this guy. He did not get what he thought.
Right. He didn't read the book, apparently.
He did. Art's older at this point. He's not doing as much legwork, and a little disappointed.
Definitely.
Hey, Art, I'm calling in because, this guy, he sounds very interesting, but why does he keep dancing around when you're asking him for proof?
Because he doesn't have it.
He doesn't really answer the questions when they pose.
Because he doesn't have it. He doesn't have proof.
You guys are expecting me to have a spaceship land in front of you while we're talking on the show? Is that what you're after?
I'm willing to accept the fantastic. That's what this show is all about, examining the possibility of the fantastic. And I'm willing to accept it. I just want some kind of proof, something that says, hey, look, this is real.
If you begin to send out the Hue under your own efforts of your own will, you'll get that proof.
So he's not hewing, and that's the problem.
You got to hew.
You got to hew. And really, it's Art's bad for being such an idiot and not hewing more.
Start hewing some more, Art, and you'll get it.
So, Chris, that was the Say Raise Agenda by Scott Lemriel. Scale of 1 to 5 hues. What do you give this guy?
Story-wise, I'm giving him at least 4 hues. I think this story is great. It's fun. There's some interesting things. He goes a little bit more in depth, but really at the end of the day, many people, so maybe more of a 3, many people have kind of walked this line. Mass Effect walks this line. Like I said, Star Trek walks this line. The Expanse kind of walks this line. We're at the very beginning of the process in The Expanse, but that's kind of what it's building up to. So yeah, maybe more of a 3 for story. It's a good story, fun story, very interesting. I'm going to give him a 1 for like Graham Hancock gives me what he considers to be proof.
Yeah, he attempts to. There is evidence that he uses to support his argument that is real things.
I could have stopped at Graham Hancock when he just showed me all the different flood stories about the world being destroyed and people flocking up to mountains. I could have seen all those and been like, at least you did some legwork. At least you collected all those stories.
You read a book somewhere.
This man is just 100% psychically getting it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, I mean, talk about like something that actually happened in Eisenhower's time. Like in 1952, he was at, and you can at least connect that Eisenhower was at this place at this time or something.
Some sort of foundation, right? And that's one of the things that I do like about Art Bell is that he does call that stuff out because he is constantly looking for proof points where he's like, okay, this is your story. Yeah. And he's like, all right, what can you check off of that story? Right. You can verify that this person was actually there at that time or, other people saw something like this. So I'm not going to call him like an investigative journalist, but he does at least have a little bit of like investigative threads running through him where he wants some sort of proof point. Right?
He's talking to these people because he wants to believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, genuinely, Art Bell wants to believe this crazy stuff.
Yeah. And I think so. I'm going to give Scott a 1 because of the fact that he got smacked across the face by a guy with a psychic girlfriend.
Yeah, a little bit.
When the guy with the psychic girlfriend takes you down, I'm not very impressed with your argument.
And Canadian, no less.
Well, yeah, one hue for Scotty.
Poor Scotty.
Yeah. So that has been the Say Ray's agenda, Chris. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did very much. It was an interesting take on Ancient Aliens, but I like the History Channel's version of Ancient Aliens more at the end of the day.
It's no Fingerprints of the Gods. We'll say that. So that's been the show. We hope you enjoyed it. Once again, smash that subscribe button, drop us 5 stars, share us with a friend if you enjoy the show. And we will see you next time.
All conspiracy all the time. Later.